as I mentioned in the description of my last video, I am not satisfied with uh, the quality that I am articulating my thoughts and feelings just going off the cuff. So now I have cue cards. We'll see how this goes. So I'm still on the same topic of body congruency, um, and I'm recording right after showering. Maybe that's the right move to to get the brain juices flowing properly. Um, so I'm going to see if I can really do the topic justice now. So without further ado, washing the dishes. Why am I so stuck on washing the dishes as an example? Um, because I think I can. Uh, I think I will demonstrate that it is a very elucidating example. So instead of trying to, um, I think I'm going to do this backwards. I'm going to describe the set and setting in which I do the dishes ideally. So, first off, I like to have a drink, either just flavored drink or alcoholic beverage on the side, and or a snack. I like to have both, something I can grab while my hands are soapy, so like maybe a open bag of chips that I can grab and just waterfall into my mouth. Um, but anything that's easy to stuff in your mouth without interrupting your flow. And the same for the beverage. You want to have it in a container that you don't mind grabbing with soapy hands. Um, and the purpose for this is so that way, when your brain wants to interrupt your groove by saying, "Hey, I'm a little tired. Let's take a break," or "I need a distraction." Yada yada yada. All the things the brain does, you can try to condition it by saying, "Hey, here's a little hit of dopamine by putting something flavorful in my mouth." Um, excuse me. And so yeah, so that's just a small uh, support to help you do the most ideal job. Listening to music, um, whether it's on headphones or on a speaker, I recommend music over something like a podcast or an audiobook, so that way your brain doesn't have to spend focus on comprehending something that's got a message or information to it. You're just listening to music, not new music, music you've heard a million times. You're listening to good music, whatever your definition of that is. And the reason why that's important is because we're going to be instead spending our focus on this more meditative mindfulness mindset, and we'll get more into how we're going to be doing that. Clothes and gloves. We'll start with the clothes. The I like to either put on a t-shirt that I don't care if it gets any food stains on it or if it gets wet. You could even go topless, um, and that's an even more interesting experience because then you get the sensation of the water splashing against your torso, um, and so that can be yeah, its own form of, I can't think of the word, tactile, where you're focusing on the tactile sensations uh, of your body. Um, so anyway, the point here is that you want to be as comfortable as possible, getting as messy as possible. You want, if you need to put a towel on the floor to stop the floor from getting too wet, great. Um, Whatever you need to do to not have to be preoccupied with, oh, I'm gonna splash on this or that or myself, or yeah, what am I gonna get soap on with my hands while I'm in the middle of doing this? Yeah, you want to fully just like you put on PPE when you're doing a job that's called for. You want to have the proper attire on, and I do recommend disposable gloves or the reusable latex gloves. Excuse me. Um, because I personally uh, don't like how my skin reacts when I am doing nothing but getting soap and water and soap and water and soap and water. My skin dries out and so on and so forth. And I think that is also like a mental, I don't want to say barrier, but obstacle. Like when the concept of, oh, the dishes need to be done pops into your head, and you have a bad feeling about you. You have your brain tells you, I'm not going to enjoy this. I think part of that is, hey, my hands are going to get wet, or the water's going to be too hot or too cold, and so on and so forth. All these messages that your body subconsciously gives your brain saying, hey, just like your body doesn't want you to jump into a cold pool, um, and you have to force it to make that jump. Here we're actually trying to remove the obstacle by putting on a dry suit or a wetsuit or whatever it is, so that way it's less unpleasant, and we're treating our body well. I'm rambling here, but we continue on with the cue cards. So, actually focusing more on the body congruency part of this, and the mindfulness. I recommend you not be in a hurry. I obviously know that the demands of life don't always make that possible, but if you already have a meditation practice, consider substituting that time with something like washing the dishes, where you can do a similar type of mindfulness, um, and part of this that I do is, even though like sometimes there will be a dish or piece of kitchenware where I think to myself, hey, I could probably put this straight into the dishwasher and it will most likely come out clean just by what the dishwasher does. I will scrub it anyway, and and that forces me to reinforce in my mind that, hey, I'm not doing this as efficiently as possible on purpose. I am spending extra time on purpose and am not in a hurry. And tangentially to the not being in a hurry is, and not doing things efficiently, is using your non-dominant hand. Um, for the ambidextrous people out there, sorry, this, I guess this doesn't apply to you. Um, but for basically what I'm saying is, either try to use your non-dominant hand exclusively for all the things you would normally use your dominant hand for, or do half and half evenly. And if you really want a challenge of focus, at least for a amateur meditator like me who has very little focus, um, try to take, when you're putting the silverware in, try to go one piece of silverware at a time and alternate hands between each piece of silverware. So scrub it with this one, stick it in, and then pick up the next piece with that hand, switch what hand the sponge is in, scrub it with that hand, and then put it in, and see if you can do that without losing focus and repeating wrongly the pattern. um, and I'm I'm just sorry. I'm just getting the overwhelming feeling that I'm going to hate how this video is after it's done. Um, and apologies in advance for not editing and cutting out me burping. Um, but this is practice. This is just practice. I will get better at this. I know I will get better at this the more I do it. It's just painful, just like public speaking class. It's similar to public speaking class, but still different. I don't know what to do with my hands. um, okay, so my last cue card here is talking about engaging the core. Now, I know I mentioned engaging the core already, and I feel that warrants a lot more explanation because I'm not just talking about tightening your abs. The If you've never thought about this, it's actually interesting because there are basically two different ways to tighten your abs. There's like focusing it all on your six pack, like the what you would do if you were expecting somebody to punch you in the six pack. Obviously, I don't have a six pack. I'm just using that as the definition of where the abs are. The And then there's engaging like the entire circumference of your lower torso, if that makes sense. Everything below your rib cage, like how you would engage if you were sucking in your stomach for trying to suck in your gut to look skinnier. That type of motion. So I think the that second one I mentioned of the entire circumference and like sucking it in is what I'm really talking about. And you can also alternate by just engaging the front part of your abs. That's still, nothing wrong with that. But strengthening that rubber band is the metaphor I've heard before. Strengthening that band that goes all the way around is quite beneficial because it basically supports everything upwards. And if you do this enough over the course of a day, and you can do it literally any time when you're trying to sit up straight at your desk or all this other stuff related to posture, you will actually get sore, or at least I have. Maybe my body's weird, but I felt at the bottom of my rib cage in the front, it has felt like, just like if you were doing curls and your biceps were sore a day or two later. I have felt sore at whatever that connecting place is between the rib cage and the abs. So that's how you know you're actually exercising something. But a lot of what I'm focusing on is not just engaging the abdomen. I'm also thinking about my back overall. I'm thinking about my shoulders especially, because my shoulders have started to hurt in different ways, specifically my dominant side shoulder more than my non-dominant. And so that's what has been the motivation for me to start using my non-dominant hand for things like brushing my teeth, for the mouse on the computer if I'm not doing a very precision focused task. Literally anything you can think of in your life that is safe to do. Don't try to chop vegetables very finely, but anything that is safe to do with your non-dominant hand, try to start training yourself to do it. And it's going to be difficult, but it does get easier relatively quickly. And yes, sorry, so shoulders. I'm trying to make sure I'm not like overextending, and I'm not basically abusing my spine if I'm reaching down for something, because it's very easy to like bend over lazily and put all the tension and weight on your spinal column basically, and instead of properly bending your knees and getting your upper body to the proper low elevation to not totally like overextend your shoulder and or all these twisting motions and stuff. So people who are my age or older will get the signals from their body when through tinges of pain and uncomfortableness when they are not doing it correctly. For the younger people, um, I don't. I think this will be very difficult. I have heard that people naturally have different levels of interoception, meaning how they perceive their inner body and how it's what it's doing and how it's reacting. But I I would be very surprised if this is not something you can practice and get better at by being mindful of it and by paying attention and seeing hey, where does slight uncomfortableness start in my range of motion, and what does make sense leverage wise. um, yeah, basically you want to be putting the leverage on the strongest parts of your body, i.e., your core, your thighs, um, your uh, your back, but only in ways that are supported by muscle and not just by your skeleton, basically. Um, I'm not the most read up on this topic. I'm just trying to convey convey the concepts in a common sense sort of way. Um, don't take this as medical advice. Um, the but yes, I think I think the message of be as mindful as possible and listen to your body, uh, and practice that to get better at listening to your body because the messages might not be coming through so clearly is what's important. Um, and hips as well. I don't know how much of my back and shoulder problems are also due to my hips not being um, properly aligned or who knows what. But yes, so your entire torso and the immediate things connected to it is what most commonly causes people problems. Excuse me, and and is yeah, it is. I think it's the right place to start focusing on. Um, Obviously, the knees are another big one, and the wrists are another big one. So yeah, as you're alternating scrubbing with your left hand and your right hand, pay attention. Hey, is my dominant wrist uh, feeling strain from much more use than my non-dominant wrist? And that's another great reason to alternate to your non-dominant hand. And again, with the knees, I try to just bend them slightly, just enough to so that way your body naturally wants to engage its core, um, and that helps you keep decent posture and decent positioning for leverage even when you lose focus. The That's all I have for my cue cards. I should say that again, this is the ideal circumstance. Life gets in the way. Motivation's not always there to get all of this preparation done. Sometimes I really do want to listen to uh, uh, a podcast or audiobook or other random stuff on YouTube instead of music because my brain is just in that mode of wanting to do that. So that's not to say this is all or nothing. Sometimes half-assing it is better than just not putting any of these concepts into place. But yeah, try to make it something that you look forward to, and that is your you time. Make sure the people that you live with get the memo that hey, don't be interrupting me or disturbing me every 5 minutes while I'm in my meditation dishwashing space. Um, and I feel like I am forgetting something, but but yeah, that's that's what I got for now. I know this is a super long video, and again, I'm not really not really happy with how rambly it was. I can already tell I'm probably going to find more flaws with it when I rewatch it. Um, but I need to get more comfortable at this, and I'm not going to do a million takes to try to get it right over and over and over again. Maybe that is the most proper thing to do, and maybe I will end up doing that to get better in a more efficient manner. But right now I'm just sticking with a single take, no editing because of other time constraints in my life right now. Um, so yes, here is to the journey and getting better at quote unquote public speaking. Not really public speaking, but a lot of the same principles. It's been a long time since my last public speaking class. Goodbye.